Hi, this is Laura Vanderkam. I'm a mother of 5, an author, journalist, and speaker.
And this is Sarah Hart Unger. I'm a mother of 3, a practicing physician, and blogger on the side. We are 2 working parents who love our careers and our families.
Welcome to Best of Both Worlds. Here we talk about how real women manage work, family, and time for fun. From figuring out childcare to mapping out long-term career goals, we want you to get the most out of life. Welcome to Best of Both Worlds. This is Laura. We're going to be talking about a day in the life, how Sarah and I have spent a recent day, an actual day, from the beginning to the end. And the reason we're doing an actual day is that many of these sort of stories of a typical day in the life are more value judgments than anything else. We decide what is typical and what is atypical. And that's often more about how we want to see ourselves than how time actually passes. So that's always a reason that I suggest people try tracking their time. But Sarah, you have thoughts about these day in the life posts. I mean, because yeah, you've noticed the same thing. They have a certain smoothness to them.
Yes, whenever I read them, especially if there are young kids, I do tend to get kind of jealous because I'm like, wow, your day was just one peaceful event after the other. And I don't think that people mean to convey that. I just think it's very difficult to capture the details that make things a little bit more challenging. So unfortunately, I think the same is true with mine. But in full disclosure, like if I was time logging this morning, I would have mentioned the fact that on the way out the door, Genevieve pulled her hairdo out twice, making herself look like, I don't know, a wild child, basically. And, that's drama and stressful. And those kinds of things don't typically make it onto time logs. So I guess this is my apology in advance if it sounds easier than it probably actually feels.
Yeah. So, I don't know how you would actually capture all that. It would have to be time. It would have to be video of like the whole day and then, analyze each like 1 minute period to see what was happening. That's actually one of the things that is a challenge with time logs. I think you can get a lot of stuff in half-hour blocks, and I make a judgment call that half hours isn't enough to show stuff, but will also keep people doing it. Whereas obviously no one's going to record every minute. Like then you spend your whole time recording your time and it's very meta. It doesn't work. Like all your time would be spent on your time log. So that is a choice of that. But then you lose some stuff because you might have been working for like 20 of the 30 minutes, but you were like scrolling around Pottery Barn links for the other 10. And you're never going to write that down. Like you're just somehow magically there's 3 hours of screen time in the day that were while you were also working 8 hours. Like, where did that come from? I don't know. Time is magic. But yeah, there's a lot of sort of multitasking that doesn't necessarily get captured on the logs either.
Maybe if you had some sort of like alarm go off on your phone every hour for like 30 seconds where it forced you to take a video and like narrate exactly what is happening at that minute. Unfortunately, if I'm doing patient care, I don't think that would be very...
By the way, smile.
HIPAA compliant, but,
Yeah, exactly.
It might be more realistic.
All right. So you're going to talk us through Wednesday, September 15th. We're recording this right after that. Hence, it's not like she chose this one day from a month ago just to show what Sarah looks like. But why did you choose Wednesday as opposed to, say, the week prior or Monday or something like that?
The week prior was a call week. And I think when you suggested this, it was already Tuesday or something. So I think it was sort of the next typical work day, although my days are about half clinical and half not clinical. And I did choose a clinical day, but there's no reason that that's truly any more typical than any other day.
All right. Well, let's hear what Wednesday, September 15 looked like for Sarah.
Okay. I woke up at 5, not 4:45, but 5. I don't know why. I think I was trying to get like at least 7.5 hours of sleep or something. And I did my normal morning routine. Again, full disclosure, this was the week after my call week and my call ends on a Tuesday. And I always feel sort of like I have a call hangover, even though there's no alcohol involved. And so I've been really tired this week. So I haven't done this every day, but I did do this on the 15th. Whether or not that was influenced by the fact that I was tracking the day, we'll never know. But I did get up And I read a little bit. I did my headspace and I did a workout. It was like, I didn't feel like up to the full Sydney Cummings that I've been doing. So I did 20 minutes of a Peloton full body strength workout and 10 minutes of core. And then that took me up until about 6:45, which is the time we have to get the kids up. And I actually went to Josh, who was sleeping, and said, hey, can you like wake up the kids and start them up while I shower because I'm going to take them to school. So he took over the kids. And I got ready, and then I joined them downstairs at about 7:10, ate like a 5-second breakfast, and then at 7:35 on the dot, left with the kids. We have a new rule currently, which is that for every minute after 7:35, if they are not ready with shoes on at the door, they are going to lose 10 minutes of iPad time on the next weekend day when they're eligible for iPad time. And this is a relatively new policy, but I have to say it seems to be good. It does not work for Genevieve. She's not quite ready for that. It's too complicated. But for the big kids, they're like, okay, like you remind them of that. And all of a sudden they have a fire lit under them that wasn't there before. So that worked. And then we left at 7:35. Do we want to like take turns? I feel like I'm going to be talking for way too long.
No, because I think it's, I mean, I could just offer commentary if you think it would help to break it up. But no, yeah, getting kids out the door, not easy. I like that. But you have your stuff by the door then, right? It's relatively easy for them to do that.
Yes, all of our clothes are downstairs. I usually do them the favor of pulling their lunches out of the fridge and adding ice packs, and they're in charge of like putting their clothes on, brushing their teeth, putting their socks on, etc. And then Genevieve needs a lot of like hands-on help. So I cannot wait. I think we're probably 2 years away from when she could like take over that. I'm really over getting a kid dressed in the morning. I can't wait to not do it, but it'll happen eventually.
7:35, you are all in the
Yes, we are out the door. I drive to school. I do the drop off. I'm done with the drop off. So we do Cameron, then Genevieve, then Annabelle in very quick succession. There's not a bad line or anything like that. And so because school's on the way to work, I'm able to park by like 8:20 and I get to work by 8:30, which is perfect because that's when my patients start. I did not have any students or residents. A lot of times I do. So then I have to kind of set the plan for the day, decide who they're going to see, throw an article at them and tell them to read about XYZ topic during any gaps. But that didn't happen. It was just me. So the morning was actually pretty relaxed. I think we had 2 patients not show up, which was great because I had a bunch of results I had to catch up on. So I intermittently saw patients, called people back. I also had an excellent medical assistant that day, which she's been working with me recently and she's awesome. So that helped a lot. And I was done with all of my notes and saw all my patients and mostly cleared my clinical inbox by noon, which was fantastic. And so I then heated up my lunch, which I had brought leftovers. It was for the sake of including details, we had some leftover pineapple fried rice with peas and cashews from a recent prep dish menu. Anyway, ate my lunch in like 2 seconds as I do. And then I went for a walk. It was a lovely 90 degrees out. I'm being sarcastic. It was really hot, but it's okay. And I went for this walk and I think I made it 35 minutes and it was like 2 miles. So I was happy about that. And then I got back. I wasn't too gross and sweaty because I think it was just under the time cutoff where it would have been an issue. And my office is nice and air conditioned, so I could cool off for a second. And then I saw all my afternoon patients, and these were packed a lot tighter together. So it was more like bam, 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 bam. But again, having a good medical assistant was helpful. And I finished my notes by 5, which is great. I don't always finish my notes by 5. A lot of times stuff takes longer. I think we also had 1 or 2 no-shows that helped out. So if everybody had come, I would not have finished all my notes. But
is that what you normally do if you get a no-show? And just so I know, because I've never not shown at an appointment I have. I mean, I understand life happens and it's hard with pediatric stuff and everything. But like, how often does that happen?
Oh yeah, usually like I would say 10% of appointments they don't come. I mean, we had one, they actually came and then at the door, there's like a screening about COVID and they're like, oh yeah, dad got diagnosed with COVID 7 days ago. And they're like, no, you can't come up here. Cause like if the dad just had COVID, then the kid could easily have COVID. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was totally not an emergency. Like I wasn't seeing, most of my patients are not, I manage chronic issues, not acute issues for the most part. And so there's no reason to come into our office where other kids that have risk factors like diabetes and stuff with COVID, like it's just not necessary. So they were like, they came, but they couldn't be seen. So stuff like that happens. But yeah, anytime that happens, I'm like, oh, found time. And then I get like a lot of notes done, or I have a whole electronic inbox that we use Epic, and I'll have to call about results or whatever. So getting that to as empty as possible is always my goal on any clinical day. So I am not always successful, and I often leave with a lot of loose end or even open charts. But this day I was able to get them done, in part because we didn't have 100% show rate. So yes. So at 5, I was done, and we have a weekly hospital-wide meeting for like basically anybody who wants to go. And it's our CEO and our chief medical officer give an update. And so I did that, and it was a fun one because they were introducing some new hires, including one of my former residents. So that was like, wow, how cool is that? So that was good. And then I got home right around 5:45. My commute is just under, if you include walking to the parking garage and like everything, it's probably like 40 minutes because I don't get to park right next to where I work. So anyway, I got home at 5:45. Cameron had just finished tennis and he was getting home. And this was actually an atypical day, because there is no typical day, right? Because our nanny had offered, there was no school Thursday. It was Yom Kippur, and we are not super religious. So for us, I was actually working that day. And so our nanny offered to take Cameron and Genevieve because, I don't know, she just felt like it would be fun. Annabelle really wanted to stay with me, and I felt like I could work from home with her with me on Thursday. So we divided up like that. And so this was like a really fun night. Annabelle and I think she'd already eaten dinner. I ate dinner. She hung out with me. We did some planning fun. I showed her all my Hobonichi stuff that had just come. We watched The Home Edit together, which is one of the few shows that like we truly both enjoy. We got to see Rachel Zoe's closet get organized, and just her closet, man. That is, I don't even know if it's goals. It's unbelievable. But the thing about her, this is a huge digression, is that not only does she have a lot of stuff, she has amazing stuff. There is a reason that she is like a stylistic, that she's made it so far in the fashion industry. Like her choices are on point. And it was so cool to see her closet. So anyway, we watched The Home Edit, and then I watched, I hate these like crafting YouTubes where they're like sped up versions of people making elaborate stuff, often out of like cardboard, but Annabelle loves them. So I watched that. And I don't know, that took us till around bedtime. Annabelle observed my skincare ritual. And then we went to bed at like 9 because I was tired from my week of call. Annabelle had asked if she could sleep in my bed, which she will sometimes ask if it's just us. And Josh had guitar, so he wasn't in the picture at all. He went, I think, straight from work to his guitar, which he has on Wednesdays. And so we went to sleep. That was my entire day. And unlike you, there was no like, well, I don't know if you probably don't have to get up like overnight anymore. But yeah, once I went to bed, we were all asleep until the next day.
Yeah, there's occasional overnight stuff, but, it happens. All right, well, let's take a quick break, and then I'll talk about how I spent a day. Well, we are back. Sarah and I are talking about a day in the life, talking through how we spent a actual day as opposed to a typical day, since there are no typical days. In what way would, I guess, the Annabelle part, the evening with just Annabelle, is pretty different from the norm?
Very much. And also very much less chaotic.
Yeah.
Speaking to the whole like, oh, it was so peaceful and nice. It actually was pretty peaceful and nice. And my sister, if she got on here, will tell you she will often FaceTime me around dinner, and peaceful and nice are not adjectives you would use to ever describe the scene of what is going on at our house around 6 p.m. But again, hard to convey in that day of life.
Exactly. I don't have the scream crazy right in my notes either. So I decided to do Monday, September 13th, partly just because we were originally going to record this on September 14th, and then life intervened. But I was sleeping in the morning until about 5:45. I woke up and fed Henry in bed. I woke up because he was up, and then fed him in bed until about 6:10, 6:15. I got up. I put together some breakfast for Jasper, who's the oldest child. Got him up at 6:30, although he's often setting his own alarm too. I just, am up and have the backup there. I played and read with Henry while Jasper was eating, also talking to Jasper at this time. I think I must have put on jeans or something because there's no getting ready time noted on the time log here. And as I look through the whole day, there's no getting ready time. So apparently I am now remembering I did not shower Monday. I tried to, so that was atypical. But anyway, Monday, I decided to drive Jasper to school. We were generally trying to do that at least Monday and Friday, and then he'll take the bus the other days. So Monday, I drove him to school. It was quite the line. I have now been reworking the route to get there, so we at least avoid one stop sign that people are just stacked up behind to get through. We'll come at that intersection from the other direction, so there won't be a lineup. We'll be able to go forward. But even so, it takes time to get through the line, and I'm not really sure what to do about that other than it's just not great. But do it twice a week. He'll take the bus on the other time. Michael will generally drive him on Friday. So I got home. Michael had gotten Sam on the bus. Sam gets up at 7, and I had left the house at 7 with Jasper. So gets him ready, gets him out to the bus. I think it came right at 7:30, and I came home like 7:35 from the high school run. I ate my breakfast in relative quiet since Michael was still in charge of Henry and Alex and others at this point. Hang out, made a grocery list for our nanny to go shopping during the morning. At 8:00, she was not there. There's a slight issue that precluded her coming till about 8:45. It's all fine, but that was sort of sudden change of plans. And then I got the kids on the bus at 8:30, Alex and Ruth, chatted with the pool guy who was there to fix the broken heater. Any of our listeners who happen to have pools know that everything breaks and it's just inevitable. So we were deciding what we were going to do about that. Then our nanny got here. I went for a run at 8:45 and proceeded to run till about 9:20 through some nice trails in the area, a nice little farm. It's a great loop. I don't normally run in the morning, but nothing else was really happening at this point. And I'd been up since 5:45. And so I'm like, I'd like to do something. So I ran, came back 9:20, got to worked all
Do we have any,
morning.
Sorry, digression. Were you able to enjoy any leaves yet, or is that not happening?
Nah, well, there's sort of just color on the margins, like little bits of color on trees. Some of the brush and vines are modeling a little on the edge. It's very, very early. It's nothing pronounced yet, but it's pretty. It's nice late summer with a touch of color. So worked all morning. What did I even work on? I don't remember. I didn't write that down. Our nanny got back at 11:30 with the groceries, so I helped her bring those in. I had lunch with Michael, and Henry was there then too, sort of toddling around eating as well. Finally, at 12, I got out of my workout clothes. Proceeded to do work. Oh, I remember I had to get dressed because I had video calls. Now I remember. So they were done in a ponytail, but with
no showering.
No showering, but with a little touch of makeup. So, kind of make a nice gauzy type Zoom sort of thing. Not great lighting. So they're not seeing all. So you have a nice top on and sort of a general polish on the ponytail. So I had calls at 1:00, a prep call for a speech. Got off that maybe a little after 1:30, did email till 2, and I had another work call. That was another prep call for a speech. Continued working. I had agreed to go get Sam at school. He has a really long bus ride home that I think he finds very frustrating because they circle our street literally 3 times before they actually turn down to come on it. So I know he feels like the last 15, 20 minutes of the ride is just wasted time. And we had made a deal that I would pick him up and that he would go to the batting cage with our nanny to go practice because he needed some practice for the fall baseball team he is on. Anyway, I went to get him, but God, I was waiting in line there at the middle school forever, listening to Best Laid Plans, though, so that made it better. I enjoyed having
Wow.
Sarah accompany me. I learned all about, was it the Hobonichi time? Or maybe it was a different one. I forget which
I
one.
think that was the
It may
Hobonichi
have been
week.
the
Yes.
Hobonichi. And so I picked him up. We got home. Then my plan had been to do some more work. However, Jasper was really wanting to talk and chat and hit Starbucks. And so I decided I would. So I took him to Starbucks to get his strawberry acai lemonade that he likes there. And I picked stuff up for everyone else too while I went. Not for me, but for everyone else. We left the door open for Ruth and Alex. Michael was working upstairs, so that was fine. One of the upsides of having two parents work from home, you can do that sort of thing because our nanny had taken Sam and Henry over to the batting cage so he could practice. Got home, dealing with children. This is again, my attempts to get back to work were somewhat stymied for a long time because then Jasper also needed to buy a graphing calculator of a certain variety. And Amazon had a run on TI-84s for obvious reasons at the start of the school year, since clearly he was not the only person in the world told to buy a TI-84 calculator.
Why haven't calculators gotten any more advanced since we were taking math? I think I had a TI-83. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, you don't need, I mean, they may be faster, but like, I mean, they weren't unfast. That like, you don't need super computing power to do trigonometry, right? Like you
Okay, I guess that's true.
I mean,
the little sine waves that come across the screen.
Sine wave has not changed in 28 years. I can tell you that. So I was a little, I swear we have a TI-84 calculator somewhere, but sometimes it's just not worth asking that question because I'm going to find out we don't. I'm going to find out we don't, we should, but we don't. And then it's just going to be, you know, more frustrating. So we wound up ordering a mint green one.
Okay, well, that's an improvement. They did not used to come in cute colors, so that's great.
Well, I mean, it wasn't that my son wanted mint green. It was that mint green was what was in stock and available for fast shipping. And if you were like, Mommy, I need it on Monday. Anyway, so we ordered that. That took a long time. I filled out various forms. Finally got back to work. However, it was work with kid interruptions, people needing various things until about 5:50. Michael had taken Ruth to soccer. I, at 5:50, took over with Henry while our nanny finished like plating up dinner for the kids. I sat with them. We ate stuff, you know, talk with, so it was the boys. So Michael and Ruth weren't there, but I ate with the boys and her. I took 15 minutes to read on the porch after dinner while she was still there. Then she left. I took over with Henry, played with Henry. When Ruth came home, I made her grilled cheese that she hadn't had with dinner. So it's then 7:30. I feed Henry, put him down. He's still screaming, self-soothing, as we say. Some nights it's better than others. It's gotten slightly better, but certainly we have not had the experience of sleep training. We're like, oh, you only have to have him cried out for like 2 nights and then they put themselves to sleep for the rest of the time. This has never been the case. However, he did go down eventually. I read on the porch more, brought Alex up at 8:30. I read to him. Michael read to Ruth. They're reading through Nancy Drew. Got them down. The boys are in the room at 9 that they can read. Then children keep popping up. We are working on this, but I was able to read and relax and turn the lights out for the boys at 9:45. Get in bed and be asleep by 10:30. I was asleep until about 4:45, at which point Henry was screaming. However, I was able to wait for 15 minutes and then he went back to sleep, which was good because then I was able to sleep from 5 to 6, at which point Tuesday morning started and do it all again.
Wow. What book were you reading? Do you remember?
I don't think was I actually reading a book? That's an interesting question.
You said you read outside on the porch?
Yes, and then I think I read a magazine.
Okay.
I don't recall really. Maybe it was like HGTV. So while you were watching the home edit, I was reading it was a different day, but I was reading HGTV. Although I did read this book it was called The Mosquito. And it's nonfiction, and it's a history of the world through the lens of mosquitoes, which, if you believe this author, had a far greater impact. He says that 1 in 2 humans ever has died as a result of a mosquito-borne illness. Michael says that's not true, but it could be a lot. And certainly the number of people who had malaria or who died of malaria or yellow fever in the course of human history is pretty intense. And it's just sort of odd to think about, something like yellow fever epidemics going through a city. Let's just say COVID has nothing on, 10-15% death rate in a city of the whole population. So of the people who got it probably, 30-40%. And they don't.
Well, like 1918 flu too, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that death rate wasn't quite as high, because that was starting to be when people knew how to take care of people and sort of prevent more of the spread. It's interesting how that developed, sort of the sanitation standards that came in around the time of, starting with like the Crimean War and then into, the Civil War. They had gotten a lot better even by that point. And then obviously the advances with, modern disease and stuff. World War II was actually one of the times when people were able to control the mosquito in a battlefield context in a way that they had never had before. And they're saying that's one of the reasons Americans were able to fight as they did in the Pacific theater, is having access to anti-malarials and the ability to spray DDT everywhere, which has its downsides too, but did in fact work. So anyway, long story. I was reading that, and it definitely helped keep COVID in context. So yeah, that was my day. So yeah, we'd love to hear our listeners' day in the life. Please do share and send those in, because we always love to keep track of them. So let's go to our question. All right. So Sarah, I will ask it to you because you had the answer. Our listener writes in, I am feeling like I am in a slump, and a lack of the regular social activities feels depressing. Any tips?
I getcha. I mean, definitely, I don't know. A couple weeks ago, I just felt like I was looking at my calendar and I was like, nothing looks fun. So I think sometimes it's normal, though not great, to get in moods like that. But I definitely feel like making plans, even if they are small and not aspirational or not what you would do if everything was wonderful and normal, does help. I started going through and making a seasonal list of, things to do for the fall, and came up with at least a few things. You may be able to do that. Maybe you need some totally random goal to focus on. This is when I will turn to some new fitness series, or maybe you want to do calligraphy or work on a foreign language, or even if you're like Laura, like a decor or home improvement project, maybe that would make you happy. But something. And if there's an element of loneliness, you can often find an online community that is centered around any small, infinitesimal little hobby or slice of life or goal. I recently discovered the Hobonichi Reddit. It's like people around the world who are like, why am I the only one who gets so excited about the Hobonichi sale? And everybody shares what they got. And I'm like, see, it's not just me. So that may be true, whatever random passion that you have, and it might make you happy. And then finally, I mean, this is a little bit of an extrovert's recommendation, but force yourself to make some social plans, even though you feel like you're slumpy and you don't feel like it, or maybe you feel like the stuff you normally used to do, like maybe you're not comfortable eating at indoor places right now, so you're like, ugh, I'll just do nothing. But there are probably still many things you could do, either outside or, worst case scenario, make a walk date with a friend where you're both on the phone, like call somebody and seek out connection, because I find that sometimes if I'm in a mood, I don't want it, but once I do seek it out, it always makes me feel better. And then you tend to want more of it. And so you can get on kind of an upward swing. So of course, we always mention therapy with these kinds of questions. Remember that is always an option as well. And looking to see if this is like a long-lasting thing that would meet criteria for depression is important to think about too, and seeking out help if that is the case.
Yeah, I would add that it might help to have a regular social occasion. That what happens when we're really busy and feeling low energy is that making that step to make plans just seems so hard. And, you don't want to put yourself out there and get, well, I'm busy, can't do it. And then why should I even bother? Or something goes wrong with one intentional thing you're trying to do. So if you have a regular thing you do, then life starts to kind of coalesce around that. And nobody has to make plans for it to happen. It just does. So figure out what that might look like for you. If it's going biking with a friend on the first Saturday of every month, right? That could be something that the two of you agree to do. Or maybe it's that you get together with another couple one Friday a month, or you know what I mean. But just something that could fit that regular thing. And then, nobody has to plan it and it happens and you can look forward to it.
We do that with my college Zoom friends call. I think it's every 3 weeks right now. It just automatically pops up. Whoever can make it can make it. We don't have to think about it or plan it or, stress about whether this is the right day. So yes, exactly.
All right. Well, this has been Best of Both Worlds. We've been talking about a typical day. Haha, there are no typical days. We've been talking about a specific day in the life. We'll be back next week with more on making work and life fit together.
Thanks for listening. You can find me, Sarah, at theshoebox.com or at @the_shoebox on Instagram.
And you can find me, Laura, at lauravanderkam.com. This has been the Best of Both Worlds podcast. Please join us next time for more on making work and life work together.